All right, one of the greatest victories for taxpayers I've seen in my lifetime. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker signed his new budget bill, which severely restricts collective bargaining and forces give-ups by unions for their pensions and their benefits. I regard this as a massive taxpayer victory, indeed, perhaps a turning point in U.S. fiscal policy, the likes of which we haven't seen in 3 decades. And my humble view is it is an opening towards growth and prosperity long overdue. But we must talk. We have Evan Newmark, Wall Street Journal Main Street columnist, Scripps Howard News Service syndicated columnist Deroy Murdock, and CNBC contributor Andrew Ross Sorkin, reporter with the New York Times and author of Too Big to Fail. Okay, Deroy, I want you to weigh in first. I think this is really hot potatoes, and I think this is a turning point in U.S. fiscal policy. But some people think it's not that important. Where are you coming from?
I think this is very important. I think this is important, as we saw back in 1976 with Prop 13, with some of the tax cuts that you saw early on that led to the supply side movement, in which you played and continue to play such a great role. I think that we've seen the effort to pare back the expenses and the privileges related with government workers unions in Wisconsin. We're going to see it in Ohio. I think just a couple of days ago in Idaho, they voted to reduce collective bargaining. Even here in New York State, you've got Andrew Cuomo, who's no big Republican. He's a Democratic governor, and he actually is trying to reform the protections that the teachers unions have, where they're protected in terms of new hires being fired before lower quality workers or teachers who've been there a long time. So I think this is a great first step, and I think it will continue.
Andrew Sorkin, the unions regard this as the end of civilization as we know it. And there are going to be battles. There are going to be recall battles, maybe. That's what they're saying now. Court lawsuits, maybe. I don't know whether they're frivolous or not. Nobody really believes that. I want to ask you, how do you see this playing out down the road? Am I making too much of it? Is this going to spread like a prairie wildfire to all the other states, or many of them? Is it going to spread to Washington, D.C., which is very important in this fiscal battle?
So I'm going to disappoint you, because I'm going to take off my Upper West Side liberal hat for 1 second and just tell you that I actually do think this is very important, and I think this is a mission, and I think you are correct. I think this is the beginning of something.
If the left has lost Sorkin, they've lost everybody.
But I'll tell you something. So I had dinner with a governor of a state that will remain nameless, Democratic governor, recently. I was shocked by what he said. We were talking about collective bargaining. I said, you know, you really should probably give this up. And he said, I agree with you. We probably should give it up. But the only reason I can't is the politics. I will lose my party if I give it up. I'm going to lose the entire construct of the Democrat. And I think there's something.
Is that Governor Malloy of Connecticut?
I am not going to. I don't want to get involved. But
I mean, he's the guy who's running against. Malloy is a guy who's running against it. He's getting killed. There's a Quinnipiac poll out. He's raising taxes. 3/4 of the polls said he should be cutting spending much more and raising taxes much less. He's running against the tide, and he's not alone. He's not alone. I mean, Evan Newmark, let me get you in here. He's not alone. There is a debate. Look, Jerry Brown in California started to sound tough, but he's not. Now he's gone back down the tax route. The guy in Minnesota, Governor Mark Dayton, he's going to be jacking up taxes. So my dream is still not held by everyone everywhere.
Correct. But I'm going to make a prediction, Larry. A year from now,
save this tape.
A bigger story.
Wow.
A bigger story than the unions and all the stuff that'll be taken away from them is going to be what happens to the GOP when they take away all the stuff from the old people. Because that's going to be the big story.
Which old people? You mean old union people?
No,
what are you talking about here?
People who receive Social Security and Medicare.
But they're going to exempt all the old people.
No.
Yes, they are. They're going to exempt all the old people. They're not going to touch anybody older than 55 years old.
People are getting money are going to get their money.
But the reality is going to be that what will happen to the unions in terms of austerity will have to happen to the baby boomer generation. And when they realize that, that is going to turn out to be the big story of next year.
So do you think that's bad? Is that political death? Or maybe it is. I had Paul Ryan on the show, Congressman Ryan. He said, said to me, you can't grow your way out of Social Security, just like you can't grow your way out of these state entitlements. Same issue. Right. So you have to pony up more, and you're going to have to pay out fewer benefits. Is that a political death walk?
No, it's not. Look, for example, in Wisconsin, Wisconsin, Governor Walker wants to take the taxpayer's share of what's paid in terms of pensions to government workers from 99.4 down to 94.2. So taxpayers will still be paying more than 94% of the pensions for government workers. They'll have to pitch in. They'll go from 0.6 to about 6% or so. So these people are not being taken out of Dragoon.
Okay.
And in terms of Social Security, in terms of Social Security, all we need to do is raise the retirement age about 1 year per decade from about 67 to 70, 71.
Every month, if you raise it a month, you could run that baby out till 70 years old. You'd solve a huge
and not touch anybody whatsoever who's getting benefits.
That's a very smart thought. I don't want to dissuade you of that view, but I do think that come election time, there's no question the GOP is going to feel it, at least for the next term. They may get it back after that, but there's no question.
Where's President Obama in this? Where is President Obama? He said he wanted to reform entitlements. He appointed the commission.
Look,
Urban Bowles.
we have
and
to have
Alan
the
Simpson.
conversation.
They want to cut entitlements.
I agree with you.
Reform entitlements or do something.
Everybody at this table.
I want to grow our way out of everything with less spending and lower tax rates, Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Listen,
that is my vision. That is my dream. I have seen the mountaintop. Limited government and lower tax rates.
Okay, most people in this country actually agree in many respects with you that we have to cut entitlements. Everybody believes that. It's just when it comes to them in this me generation that we have a problem.
This is what I think there's a huge opportunity for leadership here. And Obama's not led, and I wish the GOP would stand up and say, look at the camera and say, we're going to go completely broke in this country if we don't do the following, which is if you're born in the 1960s, maybe you retire at age 69. If you're born in the 70s, you retire at 71. Right. Push it back 1 year per decade.
You into means testing? I'm into means testing.
Nobody getting benefits now has to lose anything. Nobody getting benefits in 10 years.
Here's the interesting.
That's leadership, and I think the GOP can win on that platform.
Nobody. This goes for the unions, and it goes for everybody who currently gets Social Security and Medicare. Nobody wants to give up something they already have. And that is a fundamental problem with American psychology.
Yeah, but you know what the second fundamental problem is? They're giving up something they'll never get.
And they don't expect to.
No, but they don't know that. They don't see that.
Well, let me switch gears, but not really. Hold on a second. I'm going to bring in another great entitlement that ain't working. It's as though there wasn't enough reasons to kill Obamacare. How about this? The Democrats' $500 billion accounting fraud. This is Washington book cooking at its worst, and the culprits have been caught red-handed. Take a listen to this key exchange from a recent congressional hearing on the health care law.
Your law cut $500 billion in Medicare. Then you're also using the same $500 billion to what? Say you're funding health care. Your own actuary says you can't do both. What's the $500 billion cuts for? Preserving Medicare or funding health care law? Which one?
Both.
The gentleman. So you're double counting.
Andrew Ross Sorkin, I appeal to your objective reportorial skills on this point. Sebelius.
I think she's just caught. Yeah, no. There's always been an accounting problem. We knew there was an accounting problem, but we're here. Let's actually
double counting.
But let's just
Congressional Budget Office holds some of the guilt on this too. The numbers never worked out for Obama.
But the numbers never worked out, and everybody on day one. You on this broadcast, it didn't actually matter where your political, what political hat you wore. The math never added.
And what about the related issue? Now, 1,000, let me see if I get this right, 1,040 waivers to states and corporations and unions so they don't have to comply with Obamacare. Now,
but I just want to say something. Even though the math may not add, that doesn't mean that the program unto itself is a failure or that it shouldn't exist.
Andrew, if everyone's getting a waiver, doesn't that tell you it's time to get rid of the program? Well, pretty soon you'll have 5,000 waivers.
I think we can all agree that there are aspects and elements of it that matter. The question is how we're going to finance it.
We'll have Obamacare, but no one's in the system. Evan Newmark, Deroy Murdock, Andrew Ross Sorkin, the best of the best. You guys are terrific.